What if every ache in your body, every heavy memory in your heart, and every silent worry that has kept you awake in the fading hours of the night was never truly a sign of your decline, but was instead a sacred invitation to a peace you have spent your whole life searching for? What if the graying of your hair and the softening of your steps are not markers of a life that is disappearing, but the gentle thinning of a veil that once hid the truth of who you really are? We spend our youth building walls, collecting titles, and gathering things, believing that the more we hold, the safer we will be. But now, in this season of your life, a different wisdom is calling to you. It is the wisdom of the open hand. It is the realization that the sunset is just as vibrant as the sunrise, and perhaps even more profound because it carries the stillness of a day well lived. What if nothing you have lost was ever truly yours to keep? And what if the space left behind by those losses is exactly where the light of awakening is finally meant to shine? You know what truly drains the spirit in these later years? It is not the passage of time itself. It is not the fact that the world moves faster than we can sometimes walk. It is the constant, exhausting pressure to control what has already been decided by the heavens. It is the weight of trying to fix the past or dictate the future for those we love. We carry the burdens of our children, the ghosts of our mistakes, and the fear of the unknown as if we were meant to be the masters of the wind. But the wind blows where it will. You have spent decades as a warrior, a provider, a protector, and a dreamer. But today, right here in this moment, you are being asked to be something much more powerful. You are being asked to be a witness. You are being asked to sit by the river of life and simply watch the water flow without needing to change its course. Imagine the relief of finally putting down the backpack of should-haves and could-haves that has been bruising your shoulders for 60, 70, or 80 years. Imagine the strength that comes when you stop reacting to the storms and start becoming the mountain that remains unmoved by the clouds. There is a strange law of life that no one teaches us when we are young and hungry for success. It is a law that only becomes clear when the noise of the world begins to fade. That law is this: the moment you stop trying so hard to be someone, you finally become everything. The moment you release the grip on how your life was supposed to look, your life starts moving in a way that is far more beautiful than any plan you ever made. We have been conditioned to believe that to have more, we must do more. But in the quiet tradition of the Buddha, we discover that to be more, we must simply be still. This is the paradox of the heart. The less you cling to the fading shadows of yesterday, the more you possess the eternal light of today. You are at an age where the world might tell you that your contribution is over, but in the realm of the spirit, your most important work is just beginning. It is the work of returning home, not to a house or a place, but to the sanctuary of your own breath, to the refuge of your own presence. Close your eyes for a moment. I want you to imagine yourself not as you are now, with the weight of your years, but as a vast, clear sky. This sky has seen thousands of storms. It has seen the scorching heat of the noon sun and the freezing bite of winter. It has held dark, heavy clouds and brilliant, fleeting rainbows. But notice this: the sky itself is never changed by what passes through it. The storms do not leave scars on the blue expanse. The clouds do not stain the infinite space. You are that sky. Your experiences, your pains, and your joys are merely weather passing through you. Even now, at this stage of your journey, the core of who you are remains as pure and as peaceful as the day you first drew breath. Can you feel that stillness? It is beneath the thoughts of your doctor's appointments, beneath the worries for your grandchildren, and beneath the nostalgia for the way things used to be. It is a quiet knowing that you are exactly where you need to be. You are not late. You are not missing anything. You are finally arriving at the center of your own life. Did you know that your mind and your body have a natural ability to heal, to find balance, and to restore themselves even when the world says it's impossible. This healing doesn't come from a bottle or a miracle cure. It comes from the simple act of stopping the war within. When you stop resisting the reality of your life, your nervous system begins to settle. When you stop feeding the fire of anxiety with the fuel of what if, your heart finds its natural rhythm. Even the physical pains we carry often soften when we stop clenching our minds around them. You have a reservoir of inner stability that is deeper than any ocean. In this conversation today, I am going to share with you the timeless Buddhist principles that act as keys to this reservoir. We will explore how to find that deep, stable inner calm that doesn't depend on whether your knees ache or whether the house is quiet. We will learn the art of being a lamp unto yourself, so that no matter how the world changes, your inner light remains steady. In this journey together, we will dive into 10 ancient teachings applied specifically to the path you are walking now. These are not lectures or rigid rules, but gentle reminders from a friend who understands that the road can sometimes feel lonely and uncertain. We will talk about why "this too is changing" is the most hopeful phrase you can ever utter. We will look at how to love your family with an open hand instead of a closed fist, finding a love that is free from the poison of anxiety. We will discover why your breath is the most reliable bridge back to your own strength. These teachings have helped millions of people for over 2,000 years to navigate loss, change, and the fear of what lies beyond the horizon. I invite you to settle into a comfortable chair, perhaps with a warm cup of tea, and let these words wash over you like a gentle rain on a thirsty garden. You don't need to memorize anything. You only need to listen with your heart. As we walk through these lessons, I promise you one thing. If you stay with me until the very end, there is a powerful bonus lesson waiting for you. It is a teaching that the Buddha reserved for his final moments on earth, a secret to finding a type of peace that even death cannot touch. This final insight often shatters the last remaining walls of fear and allows a person to truly, finally, feel at home in the universe. But before we get there, we must lay the foundation. We must learn to weed the garden of our thoughts and find the stillness that lives beneath the noise. If you find value in these quiet teachings of the heart, I invite you to join our conscious community by subscribing. Here, we remember that nothing is a coincidence, and every word you hear is a doorway back to yourself. There is no need to hurry. There is no need to achieve. There is only the beauty of this present moment and the peace that is already yours. Let's begin. Have you ever felt that life is becoming increasingly brittle, as if the world you once knew is cracking beneath your feet and you are struggling to hold the pieces together? Many of us reach a certain age and begin to feel that we must be firm, that we must stand our ground against the relentless changes of time. Yet the more we resist, the more we seem to break. The Buddha once shared a profound truth that speaks directly to this exhaustion. He said that the stiffest tree is most easily cracked, while the bamboo or willow survives by bending with the wind. Think for a moment about the bamboo tree. When a great storm sweeps across the valley, the mighty oaks and the ancient pines stand tall and rigid, fighting every gust of wind with their strength. But often, it is those very trees that are uprooted or snapped in half. The bamboo, however, does something quiet and miraculous. It does not fight the wind, it bows to it. It bends so low that it touches the earth, and when the storm finally passes, it simply rises again, taller and stronger than before. Its strength is not in its hardness, but in its profound flexibility. I remember a time in my own life when I was clinging so tightly to a version of my identity that no longer existed. I wanted to be the one who had all the answers, the one who was always in control of the family's happiness, and the one who never showed a sign of weakness. I was like a rigid old branch, and when the winds of loss blew through my life, I didn't just bend, I shattered. It took me a long time to realize that my pain didn't come from the loss itself, but from my refusal to move with the change. I was fighting the natural law of the universe, trying to keep a summer leaf from turning gold in the autumn. Once I learned to let my expectations bend, once I stopped demanding that life be a certain way, the breaking stopped and the healing began. I invite you now to close your eyes for a moment and take a gentle, slow breath. Imagine yourself standing in a vast field and a soft wind is beginning to blow. Instead of bracing your body against it, imagine that you are made of the same supple wood as the bamboo. As the wind pushes, feel yourself yielding. Feel the tension leaving your neck, your shoulders, and your heart. You are not losing your strength. You are discovering a deeper power, the power of non-resistance. You are moving with life, not against it. Notice how much lighter it feels when you stop trying to stand still in a world that is always moving. Ask yourself gently, what am I holding so rigidly right now that it is starting to cause me pain? Is it an old resentment, an expectation of how your children should behave, or perhaps a fear of your own aging? What would happen if you just let that thought bend? True resilience is not found in the ability to withstand a blow, but in the wisdom to avoid the struggle entirely by flowing with what is. When you stop fighting the wind, you realize the wind was never your enemy. It was simply life, reminding you to be fluid. If you feel this quiet strength beginning to grow within you, just type, I flow with life. Does it sometimes feel as though the hardships of your past and the physical aches of your present are like stains that have ruined the beauty of your life? We often look at our suffering, our grief, our illnesses, our disappointments as mud that we wish we could wash away so that we could finally be at peace. Yet there is a fundamental Buddhist teaching that tells us, no mud, no lotus. The exquisite lotus flower, which represents the highest state of awakening and peace, does not grow in pristine, filtered water. It does not bloom in a sterile environment. It takes root in the thickest, darkest, and most stagnant mud at the bottom of a pond. It is from that very muck, the parts of life we find most unpleasant, that the lotus draws the nutrients it needs to rise through the water and open its petals to the sun, perfectly white and untouched by the grime. I once spent many months caring for a dear friend who was facing a very difficult illness. In the beginning, we both felt that this season of life was a tragedy, a dark pit of mud that was swallowing everything good. But as the days turned into weeks, something shifted. In that mud of vulnerability and pain, we found a depth of conversation and a purity of love that we had never experienced in our clean and busy years. The suffering stripped away everything that wasn't real. We realized that our friendship wasn't blooming despite the hardship, but because of it. The mud of our situation was actually the soil of our soul's growth. It taught us a compassion that comfort never could. Take a deep breath now and imagine a lotus seed deep within your own heart. Visualize it sitting in the middle of whatever challenges you are facing right now, the loneliness, the health concerns, the memories of old mistakes. Instead of trying to escape this mud, see the seed reaching its roots down into it. Imagine those difficulties transforming into the energy you need to grow upward. Feel yourself rising through the water of your emotions, moving toward the light of awareness. You are not your mud. You are the flower that is rising because of it. The darkness of the past is simply the foundation for the peace you are cultivating today. Ask yourself gently, if I stopped viewing my current struggle as a mistake or a punishment, what wisdom might it be trying to offer me? What part of my heart is being softened or opened by this mud? We often spend our lives waiting for the water to clear so we can be happy, but the secret is to realize that the mud is exactly where the beauty begins. You do not need a perfect life to have a peaceful heart. You only need the courage to bloom right where you are. Subscribe for more quiet teachings of the heart as we continue to rise together. If you are ready to see the beauty in your journey, Just type, I am blooming. Do you find yourself lying awake at night, mentally rearranging the lives of those you love, trying to protect them from every possible mistake or hardship? It is the great burden of a parent or a grandparent to feel that we must be the architect of everyone else's safety. We act as though the universe is a chaotic machine that will surely fail if we are not constantly turning the gears with our worry. But there is a silent order to the world, a rhythm that the Buddha called the Dharma. Think of a great river flowing toward the sea. The river does not need you to tell it which way to turn. It does not need you to push its water over the rocks. If the river meets a boulder, it does not argue or struggle. It simply finds its way around, flowing and adapting until it reaches its destination. The river is supported by the gravity of the earth and the cycle of the rain. It is held by a power far greater than any human effort. I remember a time when I was so consumed with worry about my grown children's choices that I had lost my own sense of peace. I thought my anxiety was a form of love, that if I worried enough, I could somehow shield them from the consequences of life. A wise teacher once told me that I was trying to dam the river with my bare hands, and all I was doing was getting tired and wet. He told me to step onto the bank and just watch. When I finally stopped interfering with my advice and my silent judgments, I noticed something amazing. My children started finding their own way. They hit rocks, yes, but they also found their own currents. By stepping out of the way, I gave them the space to discover their own strength, and I finally found my own rest. Close your eyes and visualize a beautiful, wide river. Imagine that this river represents the lives of your children, your grandchildren, and your own future. See the water moving steadily and perfectly. Now, imagine taking all those heavy bundles of worry you've been carrying and gently dropping them into the water. Watch them float away. You don't have to guide the river. You only have to trust it. Feel the relief in your chest as you realize that you are not the one in charge of the universe. There is a natural law at work, and it is safe to let go. Breathe in the freedom of being a witness instead of a manager. Ask yourself gently, what am I trying to control that is actually none of my business? Where can I step aside and let the natural order of life take over? We often think that our interference is helpful, but often the most compassionate thing we can do is to offer our silent, peaceful presence instead of our anxious control. When you trust the flow, you discover that life has a way of working things out that your mind could never have planned. If you are ready to let the river carry you, just type, I trust the flow. Have you ever noticed that the more desperately you try to catch a butterfly, the further it flies away? You run after it, you reach out with closed fists, and you exhaust yourself in the pursuit, yet it remains just out of reach. But if you walk into a garden and sit very still, if you open your palm and simply wait without a sense of needing to possess it, sometimes that very butterfly will come and land right on your hand. This is the great paradox of the spiritual path. We only truly possess what we are willing to let go of. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of all suffering. It is not the things themselves that cause us pain, but the way we cling to them, the way we demand that they never change, never leave, and never fade. I once lived in a home that I had filled with a lifetime of treasures. Every object was a link to a memory, and I felt that if I lost those things, I would lose myself. When the time came for me to move into a smaller space, the thought of letting go of those items felt like a death. I was gripping my past so tightly that I had no room in my hands for the present. It wasn't until I began to give those things away, until I started to see that my worth wasn't tied to what I owned, that I felt a lightness I hadn't known in decades. I realized that by unhooking my heart from those objects, I was finally free to move into the next chapter of my life. I wasn't losing anything. I was making space for peace. I invite you now to sit comfortably and rest your hands on your lap with your palms facing upward, completely open. Imagine that everything you love, your home, your health, your family, your memories, is like a beautiful butterfly resting in your open palm. Feel the lightness of it. You aren't gripping it, you are simply hosting it. Notice how, when your hand is open, the butterfly is free to stay, and it is also free to fly. There is no fear of loss because there is no attempt to own. In this openness, you are not vulnerable. You are invincible because nothing can be taken from a hand that isn't grasping. Ask yourself gently, what am I clinging to so tightly that it is making my hands ache? Is it a version of yourself that you used to be, or a relationship that has changed form? What would it feel like to just open your hand and let that person or that thing breathe? We often think that clinging protects what we love, but it only smothers it. True love is the ability to hold everything dear with an open heart and a light touch. Subscribe for more quiet teachings of the heart as we learn to hold life gently. If you are ready to live with open hands, just type, "I hold life lightly." Does the thought of the future, of the final transitions, and the mystery of what lies beyond ever fill you with a quiet sense of dread? As we age, it is natural to feel that we are losing our leaves, that the vibrant green of our youth is being stripped away by the cold winds of time. But look at the trees in the autumn. They do not cling to their leaves in fear. They do not scream at the wind or mourn the loss of their color. Instead, they let go with a magnificent grace, turning into shades of gold and crimson, putting on their most beautiful display just before they become bare. The tree does not believe it is dying. It knows it is entering a season of deep rest and internal renewal. It trusts the cycle of the seasons because it knows that the same power that brought the buds of spring is the same power that brings the quiet of winter. I remember a time when I looked in the mirror and saw only the lines on my face and the gray in my hair, and I felt a sense of profound sadness. I felt that I was becoming less. But then I met an elderly monk who carried such a radiant peace that he seemed to glow. He told me that aging is not a process of losing, but a process of refining. He said that just as a fruit must ripen and fall to release its seed, we must let go of our external forms to release the wisdom we have spent a lifetime gathering. He didn't fear the winter of his life. He welcomed it as the most sacred time of all, the time where the soul is finally unburdened by the distractions of the world. Take a slow, deep breath and feel the life within your body. Visualize yourself as a magnificent ancient tree. See the beautiful leaves of your memories and your achievements. Now, imagine a gentle autumn breeze passing through your branches. Feel yourself letting go of the need to appear young, the need to be productive, and the need to be seen. As each leaf falls, feel yourself becoming lighter and more still. You are not disappearing. You are returning to your roots. You are entering the sanctuary of your own being. There is a deep, unshakable peace at your core that has nothing to do with your leaves. Ask yourself gently, what if I stopped seeing my age as a decline and started seeing it as a homecoming? What if the bareness of this season is actually the space required for me to finally hear the voice of my own soul? We spend our whole lives performing for the world, but this season is for you. It is a time to rest in the truth of who you are, beyond all the roles you have played. You are a part of a great, beautiful cycle, and you are exactly where you are meant to be. If you are ready to embrace the peace of this season, just type, "I am at home in the cycle." We have walked together through the bending bamboo, the blooming lotus, the flowing river, the resting butterfly, and the falling autumn leaves. But there is one final lesson, a truth so deep that the Buddha reserved it for his very last moments on this earth. As he lay between two trees, surrounded by those who loved him and feared the silence of his absence, they asked, "Who will lead us now? Where will we find the light when you are gone?" The Buddha looked at them with eyes that held the stillness of eternity and spoke his final secret. Be a lamp unto yourselves. Be your own refuge. Seek no outside refuge. You see, for 60, 70, or 80 years, you may have been looking for a light to guide you. You looked to your career, your partner, your children, or even your health to tell you that you were safe and that you were enough. But external lamps eventually flicker and fade. The bonus lesson of your life is this: you are not the one who needs to find the light. You are the light itself. The peace you have been chasing in books, in temples, or in the validation of others has been quietly sitting in the center of your chest, waiting for you to stop running so it could finally be noticed. You are the fire that has forgotten how to burn. Every hardship you faced was simply the wind fanning that flame. In this final season, you don't need to acquire anything new. You only need to recognize the magnificent, unconditioned awareness that has been witnessing your life from the very first breath. You are the refuge you have been searching for. Trust the silence. Trust the lamp within. As we close this sacred space, let these truths settle into your bones and become the heartbeat of your day. Carry them not as a memory, but as a presence. I am not my struggles. I am the vast sky that holds them all. I am exactly where I need to be, and I am already whole. I release the weight of the world and find peace in my own breath. I trust the silent wisdom of my soul above all external noise. Thank you for allowing me to accompany you on this part of your journey toward awakening. If these words brought a moment of stillness to your heart, then our time together has served its purpose. Here at Buddha Wisdom Library, we believe that your path to peace is the most sacred walk you will ever take. Remember, nothing in your life is random, and your arrival here today is not a coincidence. It is a doorway back to yourself. Walk gently, breathe deeply, be your own light. Namaste.